This is the man that runs the league, and as the defending Super Bowl champion, someone's going to have to take him down before I drop him from the top spot. You can look at his first round pick and say Saquon's proved nothing, but this squad proved last year they can throw out their first round pick in the trash and still come out as a champion. This is the only team with 3 top 20 running backs to combine with a top 5 quarterback and the best wide receiver depth in the entire ICPA. The history of success speaks for itself. The commissioner goes into week 1 as a number 1 ranked team. When it comes to the regular season, no team performs at their best more consistently than Jerry Jones' squad. The team sent a shockwave through the ICPA when it agreed to give up a 5th rounder to move up 4 spots. But with the trade, this team gets its long-tenured captain back at the helm. Beyond Zeke, the success of this team might come down to if Amari Cooper's 2017 season was a massive fluke. Pick a side. I'm going to say Amari is better than what we saw last year. Like we see when many young prodigies suddenly come into the picture, several older owners were angered by the cockiness this rookie showed when he walked into the first owners meeting last year and laid his dick right onto the table. But the Sean McVay of the ICPA backed up his egregious act by storming all the way to the Super Bowl. And looking at his team heading into this year, I wouldn't be shocked if they made it back to the big game. With a 2017 MVP leading the troops and an overall reliant receiving corps, there's a lot of promise. Similar to so many teams, Sean McVay's success may hinder on the talent of his quarterback. If Deshaun continues where he left off last year, torching teams left and right, this team can make it pretty far. After completing 2,000 mock drafts and 800 hours of fantasy podcasts, Wagner was finally able to assemble a squad he felt confident in. And sadly, I like it too. Wagner was able to take advantage of one of the most shocking moments in the ICPA draft history when the ever-consistent Larry Fitzgerald followed all the way to the late 4th round, letting Weg scoop him up as a 3rd receiver. Combine that with a solid 1-2 punch at running back and the comeback of Luck, and the lineup is looking good. What worries me, however, is the bench. There's only one person on the bench that we can confidently say will start, and that's Mr. Sickle Cell himself, John Brown. He claims he locked up the Patriots' backfield, but knowing Belichick, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jeremy Hill and James White are the backs to own this year. His other 3 running backs are clear backups, and Josh Doxson is the 4th best receiving option on the Redskins until Jordan Reed gets injured, behind Jordan Reed, Chris Thompson, and Jamison Crowder. It's surprising to see an owner who consistently complains about injuries and fails to make long runs pay such little attention to his bench. We'll see if it backfires again. It's almost pointless to look at this team's draft day roster when deciding its rank. Year after year, we see Kevin walk into draft day not even knowing the rules of the league and drafting a disgusting team just to pull out some waiver wire juju and become a contender. There's no reason to expect anything different this year, so this team sits comfortably in the top half of the rankings. It's a make-or-break year for management this year, as several reports have come out from Freemantown about many players' frustration with ownership after back-to-back second-to-last place finishes. The owner knew he was on the hot seat on draft day, and he came out looking pretty decent. Between some longtime veterans and some new flashy upstarts, I like the group this team will trot out to the field every week. The first 4 games will be crucial. If they have a positive record when Mark Ingram comes back from suspension, then the owner will be in great position to keep his job. It was worth questioning where this owner's priorities were the week of the draft. Like most people his age, Old Man Verde decided to take a trip down to Florida to bathe in the sun and pop some Cialis before bingo night at the local senior center. Verde decided to continue the previous night's bender at the airport bar, and surprisingly, came out not too shabby on draft night. Really, when you look up and down the roster, there isn't any weaknesses. But what makes me keep this roster out of the top half is the inability I see for this team to explode. I see a lot of players that will be consistent and make sure not to lose you the week, but I don't see many that can win you the week. It's well documented that this owner's biggest fear is a Madden cover curse, and that became clear on draft night, as this owner decided to combat that fear by drafting players he knew would never perform well enough to grace the cover of Madden. The middle and later rounds don't look too bad, but the playmakers of this team are questionable. Alvin Kamara had one of the most efficient seasons in NFL history last year, almost averaging a first down per touch. Will this team be able to rely on that historic rate again? When it comes to T.Y. Hilton, we know his success hinders on the health of Andrew Luck. If the captains show up, this team can go far, but I'm very skeptical. Following its history of questionable decisions, DeChambeau decided to roll out his new draft day scheme of drafting his second best player, Dalvin Cook, in the first round and drafting his best player, OBJ, in the second round. We never quite know what to expect from the ragtag crew this team assembles year in and year out, but if we can respect one thing, it's this team's consistent dedication to making the entire league's heads turn. I had this team higher before the news of Le'Veon's holdout came out, but now it might already be time to hit the panic button. There are massive question marks all around this organization. How much of a downgrade is James Conner? Will Cincinnati's offensive line be as brutally bad as it was last year? Can Aaron Rodgers resurrect Jimmy Graham's talent? And who will realize Isaiah Crowell blows cock first? Will it be KO or the Jets? These are all questions that will be answered sooner rather than later, which could result in a meteoric rise up the rankings or a slight fall down to dead last. It won't take much for this fan base to be happy after week 1. As long as they can avoid this debacle from happening again, it should be looked back on as a success. This team seems very top-heavy, with the top 4 probably having to perform at an elite level every single week. It honestly might take them producing 90% of their team's score to consistently win.
Keep going up.